maybe. It says live and recording. So maybe there should be a pop-up on here that we're getting live. I've got the little blur tag up there so we can see what's happening. Close this. I'm going to get... we'll get this. Let's see. All right. Looks like we're up. Okay. So, get this going here. Get this for the Mac. All right, get this recorded. All right, George T. George T in the building. What's up?
What up?
All right, so it looks like we're working on going live right now, and we're just testing out some new equipment as we're recording podcast number 119 tonight. So, George T in the studio and Bill T over here. Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Dubs. George T. So we were talking last week about getting into some of the. I'm gonna get my mic some volume. Yours a little bit too. Getting into some of the stuff that we saw last week on the podcast or on Facebook last week on the. I think it was the Samba, right? The Samba page. The Samba page last week. I think Frenchie had his car up there for sale, and people went ballistic. I think there was over.
I looked for it and I couldn't find it.
There was over 1,000 comments, and he may have pulled it down. I hope I took some screenshots of that.
Because after you told me about it, I went looking for it and I couldn't find it.
But yeah, it was pretty intense. I mean, he was on there. It was on there for like a day, and within a day, let's see here. I'm gonna do you. I get me on here, and you on here, and we're gonna go send that out. So, what's up, everybody? If you guys are out there checking us out right now, we're just checking it out and seeing if this live setup works as we're recording the podcast. So, last week we talked about. This week we're talking about some of the Samba ads. And there's an ad last week that, so I don't know if you saw it, but
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
But for Frenchie's car, that was he put it for sale, and that car it's a cover car for Hot VW's magazine. Matter of fact, I think it might be in that stack of mags right there. But it was on there, and it created quite a bit of controversy because I think mostly because of the price, right? And interestingly, from my understanding, the Samba VW show buy sell group is not affiliated with the Samba, the website.
Really?
That's my understanding that I've heard from some.
So Everett has nothing to do with that?
That's my understanding is that this is someone else just set it up and set the name up. And I found that quite interesting. And I kind of want to talk about some things for sale. One of the things that I did notice about 2 weeks ago, somebody posted the About Time Inc. Oil fill adapter.
Yeah.
And when they posted that, it was like $300.
Yeah, $300.
That's insanity.
There's buckets of it over.
Yeah, that's
buckets of it.
So for those of you guys that don't
They're
know,
not rare, by the way.
Yeah, the About Time Inc. Oil fill adapter takes your oil fill piece from 45 degrees and then it rotates it up to being at a 90-degree angle from the crankcase, and you're able to pour your oil right down in there without having too much of an issue. And so, with that thing being $300, I just was kind of blown away because we used to get them all the time here, especially go to the junkyard and stuff because they were made
They're
in
out of
Las
Nevada.
Vegas. And seeing them for $300, some guy was like, "Yeah, $300." And then Justin posts up on there. He says, "Well, if those are worth all that kind of money," he says, "I've got a ton of them for sale." So he had quite a bit of them available, and I told him, I said, "Well, make sure you save me one, Justin, because I wanted to get in on that gold."
Although they make one of VW products.
Right. So I'm just trying to, as we're talking, I'm kind of messing around with this thing, taking a look at how I can.
Don't forget our Insta handles and all that cool stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, I got all that. And I've got your name. So let me go, George. Let's just do a solo on you, George. And let me see here. And George will now put you in the screen, and I'll hit your little tag with your name and everything on there, George, and at the wagon. If you guys want to follow George T. George, what has your week been looking like over there at the shop?
Another week of dealing with inferior aftermarket products.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Well, I mean, still struggling with that. Doesn't matter where you're getting it from. It's just crap.
It doesn't matter who's. Doesn't matter who's. This sump delivered with the expedited shipping was $189. Sorry for scratching my Beetle. I'm tired, but $189 shipped to my shop
for a sump. What type of sump is it? Like a 3-quart?
CB thin line, the one that's the same size as the case, not the oversized 2-quart one, which I prefer the oversized 2-quart. They were out of stock on it.
Right. And
just typical stuff. I got a laptop, mating surface, and all that malarkey. Then it's going on to a 40-horse motor. The pickup tube is smaller, but I got past that as well. Just everything.
So so you were fabbing it to fit on a 40-horse motor, and
and then machining the sump, the actual plate, with the drain hole in it, because it's silly they don't give that to you. And anybody who's ever changed one of those large CB ones, it's pretty much a waterfall when you loosen it. You know, if you don't actually put a drain hole.
It doesn't have a drain.
No, I machine one into it.
How are you supposed to change the oil?
Take the whole plate off, and I get their understanding, because even VW did that after a while. In the 70s, you didn't have drain plugs on the engines anymore, so
right,
guys were forced to drop the screen down, inspect the screen, make sure it's clean, and I'm assuming that's what their thinking is behind it. But my problem with it is, it's a mess to undo. So we machine it. I usually use the Magex JC ones, which are far superior. They're all O-ring. They're super dope. But yeah, we just got this one came with the sump, and when you already got $189 in that one sump, you don't want to go buy another. I think the JC Magex thing is like $45-$50, you know?
Yeah.
Worth it. It's awesome. But now the customer would have $200 and something into this sump, and we haven't even installed it yet, you know?
Well, yeah.
And you hear all the goodness I just dealt with. I don't do that for free, you know? No, somebody's paying for it.
100%. Let me see if I can search this on here. Maybe the ad got taken down, so it could have been
Frenchies or the About Time one.
Well, Frenchie's ad.
I think a lot of people's problem when you're dealing with an ad like that, not many people realize what it takes to build super high level cars.
Right.
Regardless if it's stock, it takes just as much work to make it pretty stock as it does do custom. Obviously, custom you add a lot more steps to the mix. But to build a stock suspension, completely restored, and especially for a Buddy Hale paint job on it, so you know it's beautiful everywhere.
Right.
You know, you would be $65,000 to $100,000 in that build, depending on how much you do yourself. You know.
Right. Well, and that's part of the thing, you know. So it looks like maybe it's 1,000 comments on here. So, and I talked about this last week because this went.
So for reference, tell people.
So
is there an ad number or
no, it says I'm selling my newly done 66 Cal Looker cover issue of Hot VW's magazines. No shortcut were taken to build this VW. Body and paint was done by Buddy Hale from Type 1 Restoration in Tempe. 90% of these parts to build the car were from Wolfsburg West, asking $65,000 or best offer. Thanks. If interested, email me. And Frenchie leaves his email address, right? So, there, there's 1,000 comments on this thing. So it's pretty hilarious because there's all different types, right? Different angles people are taking at every move. And right here at about comment number 800, I said, wait, what did I miss? Interesting. Insert shameless plug for my podcast here. And then I put the roundtable we talked about buying VWs.
Yeah.
And what we talked about in that respect was like buying, spending the money, getting what you believe that it's worth. And then, does it make sense to buy it or build it or whatever you have, So going on this right here, it's insane to see all the stuff that people are posting on here. And the comments run from like, yeah, man, it's worth every cent to like, you're ruining the market.
Yeah.
You're the reason why we can't afford things anymore.
That's definitely ruining the market if that gentleman gets that money for that vehicle. It only helps the market out. And I get it when people say like, oh, the price is going too high and the average Joe can't get them. The average Joe can't buy them anyways.
Give me my water. I'll take my water. Because everybody's tired of hearing this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody's tired
including me, guys. Don't worry, I rip them apart every time I hear bad audio in this.
So I saw Matt Jackson's on and Gregory Hobson. What's up, fellas? Appreciate you guys checking it out. Like I said, there was no announcement, no build up. We're just running it. We're just running it live. So, but we're that's what we're kind of discussing right now is some of the aspects that people have with getting this. And my boy Bob Shamus on here, he gets mad at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I noticed that, Bobby, if you're listening out there. But, there's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of interesting comments on here. And maybe I just wanted to review a couple of comments and just get some takes on there. Because, it starts out where everybody's, I think when he first posts it, there's like no price at first. And then I think he adds a price. And then when he puts the price, he wants $65,000. I'll take your take and then you'll take my take. And so what's your take on that? I mean, obviously we saw the car in the magazine. Everybody's losing their mind because I think
in my opinion, it's an unrealistic number for a Type 1, unless it was, and I don't even think if it was like a split rag, something of that rarity, right. I would say that, okay, he's got a chance of getting that. But in my opinion, I don't think he has a chance of getting that. And it would have to be a very specific buyer to purchase that for that cost. That wants that year and wants that car. Yeah,
well, so there's a couple things here, right? So, with cars built by a specific individual, if there's a certain way, in other words, like Raw Welt, the guy that builds the fat flared fender 911s, and he's a Japanese dude who just like literally takes like a saw, cuts off the fender, does a bunch of funky stuff, and then builds the car up. That guy started out, people kind of mocking that guy, right? And then now, people pay him big money for him to fly from Japan, come to your place, mod your car, do the super stretch wide fenders, all this stuff. And so these cars are like...
He's doing a very particular job for a very particular group of people.
Over the top, and he kind of commands a price. I don't really know what he charges, but I don't think it's like... I don't know. So I won't even...
He's like the Liam Neeson of doing wheel wells. It's a very particular skill set.
Is there a kidnapping in this movie or something like that? Because that's all I see Liam Neeson. It's like the same movie, different title. But it's pretty brutal. Some of the people putting stuff on here. There's they started out with magazine ads, 45,000 to the price. Wow. And then someone says, once again, VW prices are going crazy. That 23 window bus just sold at Barrett Jackson for 210,000. I believe it's VW dollars, people. Not Porsche dollars, fool's gold, people. And then someone says, but still way out of hand for 210 for a bus. Now the Bug will try for 60 plus K for theirs. More proof, cost to build, and market value are two different things. So
I will agree with that statement because the cost to build it, most of my customers, when they ask, what's it going to be worth when it's done, nowhere near what you put into it, unfortunately. If you got a bus, that's a different story. But when you talk about a Type 1 Beetle, there's not a good chance they're going to get every penny out of that thing. Few and far between can hold that value. I mean, look at what William Fesher made out of that split window.
Jeez, I'm dying.
I think he has...
Choking on these comments.
I think he has 36 into transport and everything to get that car here. It's a finished show car.
Well, people don't know. But people don't know
the split window, the white split window.
What do you pay for
DBK car? I think 36.
I'm not sure if it's DBK
42.
Car. I'm not sure if it's DBK car, but I know the car you're talking about. It was like a cream white split out of Northern California. It had. You'll remember the car if you guys are listening. You guys will remember the car because this particular car had scat seats in it that were upholstered with the original split fabric. Mm-hmm. So. It was that, and then I think William, did he pull the scat seats out and put the stock seats back in, or he just left those seats in there?
I can't remember.
But anyway, that
regardless, super clean car.
Yeah,
super clean. I was underneath it the other day, and
there's no question.
It's a really nice build.
And that split window, he's into that thing. Would you say he ended up getting it for like 50?
36. No, really? Maybe 42, maybe 42. I think somewhere in that area.
Let's just say he's at 50 grand for a split window. A finished split window.
Couldn't build it for that. Couldn't build what he has there because it's got a big 2-liter motor. It's got a built gearbox, forward disc brakes with Willwoods all the way around. Like,
I'm dying. I don't know what I got going on over here, but I'm choking to death. So I'm looking at when we're talking about a car like this. This particular car was a 66. It was, I don't know what the color is. I'm not a big stock color guy, so I don't know if it's Horizon Blue.
So it's a 66, so it's considered in my book a big window.
It's my turn.
Beetle.
It's my turn.
So what that value is basically he's looking at what he has into it, or possibly prospecting, going, well, if those buses are going for X amount, I think I could get this amount.
And so I'm looking at it, asking myself, like, what would be like, okay, 60 grand is a big number. Is it a clean car? I'm sure it's a very clean car.
Yeah.
There's a couple things going for it. When cars start to reach a certain level, there's the provenance that comes with the car because of what it is. In other words, if we're talking Rod Buster, right? So Rod Buster, he's got $500,000, and he says if somebody hits his price, if I had to guess where his price is, it's probably north of 400 for that car. But the reality is, what are you buying when you buy that car?
Yeah.
You're buying a piece of history. You're buying a car that is the only one ever built like this. And if you have the discretionary income to buy that vehicle, then it's worth it for you. But you always have, you always end up having a car that is one of one. It's a benchmark vehicle that kind of set a statement in the VW scene, and there's that provenance. Like the car, I don't want to bring up the red. I don't want to bring up my cars, but I will. The red chop rag out front, right, or that I picked up. That car, I got a good value in that car. To let everybody know, I think I paid $16,000 for the car. Now, when I bought it, it was sight unseen. I called the owner. He said he was firm on the price. $16,000 for a 65 bug, and then you start going through, and it was kind of like when I talked to the guy, he was like, "It doesn't run, this is what it's about. This is choking these comments right to Mark." Jeez. And so with buying that car, I bought it. I essentially bought it sight unseen, and I said, you know what? I want the car because I want that particular car for what it is. And then we started talking, and then there was some negotiation about with BRMs, without the BRMs. And I thought, like, at the time I'm buying, I'm like, I don't really need that. I mean, it's a cool car to have. And then my first thought with it was, I don't really want the real BRMs, because if I get the real BRMs, it's a whole hassle. And it's like, you got to really worry about things and all that kind of stuff. And you know me, careless Will over here, careless Willie. I don't care. I'm just like, I want to drive my car, right? So I negotiated with him. He says the motor's been redone, but things haven't been gone through. And we got it. There was clearly some neglect on the vehicle. But when we started negotiating, and I said, I said to him, well, he says, I have a friend that might want the BRMs. And I said,
at that price.
So I said, well, that's what I said. I said, he says, what would you give me for the car without the BRMs? I said, I'll give you 10 grand for the car without BRMs. Now, 10 grand for a 65 bug that was painted, even if it was painted sooner than that, the car was built,
it's a very dated vehicle.
Back in the 80s.
Very specific to a time.
And at the time that those cars were built, they were built to a level that's well below the way cars are built today.
Way lower, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, buying that car, making that decision, but now where do I feel I'm at? Like, if somebody wanted to buy that car for me, now we've gone through, detailed some stuff on it. I'm still vacillating back and forth on switching the motor and putting I have 100%, yes, Matt Jackson bought a Corvair. I have 100% Gene Bird built motor, or not, I don't want to say built, but Gene Bird parts, all of it. I have all the receipts. It's pretty much brand new. It's a 1800. I've got that motor that would put in that car, and that would make it more period correct. In my opinion, putting that engine in that car boosts the value way up, just because now you're looking at a period car that is the best you could buy in that period, like buying better than what the builder had in it. So that car is not leaving my hands. I don't want to sell. Like, I like the car, and if somebody wanted that car, they'd think I was crazy, because I'd want to get 50 grand for that car. If the Bird motor's in it, it's 50 grand for that car. Why is it 50 grand? Because I don't want to sell it. That's why it's 50 grand. Do I believe it's worth 50 grand? If you want to own it besides me, that's what it'll cost you. But do I think someone would pay it?
No.
Doubt it. So, and then my boy Adam Powell, shout out to Adam Powell, the guy who's in Arizona now. Adam, you can buy the Squareback. My Squareback, I was actually thinking about this today. My Squareback is available for sale for $15,000. I think $15,000 is a good price in that car. It could use a fresh motor in it. It's got a 1600.
Sure.
It runs. It's got all the stuff. So if you got a long block of any size, you swap it out, you got yourself a nice little dialed ride, 4-wheel disc brakes, the whole shot.
I think solid car, just the motor's always been the weak link of it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good buy. So Adam, you want the Squareback? It's $15K. So that's all you, bro.
Come and get it.
I could use the room, So, but going back to this particular car, so here's my take on this.
Thanks for the forward tab, by the way, Adam Powell.
Yeah, Adam Powell, you might want to give a little bit of a more shot because that's coming through this mic, so he can hear you on that. Does the audio sound good, guys that are out there listening? If you guys can hear the audio, Nick LaFrance says Adam Powell does not deserve a shout out. So,
Adam Powell deserves multiple shout outs.
Adam Powell, I hear, has cornered the market on some of those about.
Let's say Adam Powell one more time.
Adam Powell. So man, he's super stoked right now. He's getting shout outs on. Not to mention the #1 VW podcast certified by a podcast association that had sent me some email that's almost like they're soliciting something. And they said, you have the #1 VW podcast in that category. They sent me a list of the other stuff that's in the category, the other VW related podcasts. And I was #1. I made the top 5 and the list.
I think there's 4 of them.
The list there was 3. But I was #1. And so I'll let you guys know that. So the number one podcast. What's up, Frankie? #1 VW podcast that's out there.
You're listening to it right now.
Right now. That's right. Living it. You
Enjoy.
guys get to live it. So now my take on the car. And I got to interview.
Did you already do it?
I had.
Oh my goodness.
Bro, relax. You've hogged up all the mic time, George. Jeez Louise. So my take on this car is it's a 66 Beetle. It's probably a really nice example of a 66 Beetle. Now, for that money, in my opinion, it would have to have a majority of NOS parts, not stuff from Multiple
Yeah,
West.
not stuff from Multiple West.
It would have to be NOS. It would have to be.
That would be a game changer on the car. If you
I know.
95% of these products are NOS. Then it's
Right.
like, oh wow, okay, I get it. Then it's like a new car.
But hold on.
Reproduction is not the
So
same.
I'm going through my list. Can I go through my list, George? I'm gonna do my list.
Let's just wrap this up. Hey, yo, wrap it up, B. Come on.
Bro, stop fronting. Listen, my take is valuable.
It's a
right?
66. We got that 3 times already. Now go.
Silence. It's a 66. It's got reproduction BRMs. I don't care if they're early versions or not. But when you're asking top coin like that for $1,
Yeah.
this is my 2 cents. Taking nothing away from the car. I think price on that car, because it's a 66, even if it were a 67, it wouldn't be that unless the car were like an original Survivor. All the stuff that's on it, you could buy and build that car. Would it be as clean?
You could buy and build it for $65,000.
Yeah, you could buy and build the same car for, in my opinion, less. If you found a super clean 66, you could build it for less. Like if you found something super straight that needed to be squirted, pulled apart, like the 67 we found.
Oh, you know what that number is?
Quite fair.
It's the number that Frenchie wants in order to get rid of it. If you want to own that
Correct.
car,
Correct.
that's what you have to pay him to own that car.
100%.
So just like
But
you said
now,
about your
hold
car,
on,
same
I'm
thing.
not finished. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So my like the only kind of things that I take a little bit issue with, like I would hope that it'd have an original GTV wheel.
Is it?
No, it's not. And I would hope that it would have original BR. Like if it had original GTV wheel.
Yeah, those are game
And
changers.
original
BRM.
BRMs, and then the motor were like a Berg motor, like the one that I have, like receipt verified Berg
It's
motor.
almost like you're pre-selling your red bug.
No, I'm just. Wait a second, my red bug has no, but I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying this car is way cleaner than my red bug, way cleaner.
Yeah.
Because my red bug is a street
It's
car.
a lipstick resto.
Yeah,
It's exterior stuff's done, nothing underneath.
It's an '80s resto without question. So
that beam really jazzed it up in the front, and it ain't jazzed up at all.
no, take it easy, bro. Take it easy. So now so a lot of people are chiming in on this, and some of the comments were really great that I was going through. And I noticed that Kevin Zager was on here. Kevin Zager's been on the podcast, one of the early episodes, and he was on here. And there's a lot of people going back and forth, and a lot of people getting really upset. And my thing is like, what are you guys getting so twisted for? Like, it is what it is, and a lot of people. A lot of people just have this tendency that just want to come and rain on your parade. Those are people that make the hobby suck. Those are people that
haters gonna hate.
No, but those are the people that ruin the Samba. You know what I mean? Like I was back there looking at my threads from the Samba. And it was like a long time ago, and I'm like looking at it, thinking like, I came on this forum. I started a thread on my car build, and then it got to where like there's just a bunch of haters giving their 2 cents. And really, what I always found out is usually somebody had something to say that wasn't a positive reinforcing remark. I'd click on their icon, go look at their photos and stuff like that. And they usually had hot trash going on. Like usually the people that are super bitter or really angry, they don't really have a lot of, like they can't speak from
People who are doing well, occupy their time well, and are doing productive things and good things, are not leaving comments on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, anything like that.
Well, I'll leave comments, but this was a shameless soft plug.
Well, there's been leaving a comment to promote podcasts going, hey, I talked about this topic right here. That's different. That's being productive.
So
when all you're doing is spitting hate and shooting vinegar.
Yeah, but you know, so here's the issue. You know, that's
your mother told you always, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That's the issue with posting stuff out for sale. It's like be ready to get some feedback on it. And the Type 3 group is such a selective community that when I posted my car, they put it in that separate thread.
Go into that again.
No, they just
I'm
have
walking out right now. Swear to God, if we start talking about Type 3,
they have a sticky thread where it's like parts or cars too expensive, and so they're like bashing it privately. But the reality is, you can ask what you want for your car. Absolutely. Are you going to get it? Now let's talk about the magazine. How much value do you believe the magazine adds to the car?
To a featured vehicle? Mm-hmm. 0. Okay. Absolutely 0.
What makes a car worth the money? Let's say it's a car.
Build quality, quality of products used, rarity of products used, how many pieces were custom built for that car, meaning like they're not just off of a shelf and put onto it.
Yeah, I mean,
so for instance, on the Quick Sam bus I just finished, mm-hmm. those wheels can't be purchased from the store. They most certainly can because they start life as just regular old 17-inch Impy Fuchs, but we put machine work and time and effort into them to make that one-off set. So things like that, in my opinion, add value to something. You know, what do we have in the interior? All that stuff is taken into consideration if it was real. For instance, those seats in that are not real early middle seat and back seat. They're reproductions we had done by Der Bus House. I believe his name is Greg. But things like that, in my opinion...
Greg, you want some business, you just get you an ad over here.
Would hurt if it was a serious buyer of the vehicle to go, well, those aren't original seats or this, this and that. But everything has to be taken into consideration, and in my opinion, the most important thing is the quality of the build. 100% the quality.
So Adam Powell says he disagrees. He thinks the magazine feature adds value. And then Frank, KDF Arbalo, says the car is worth it in a magazine when it's preserved to match the magazine. And then Nick LaFrance, who has nothing to say, says, hi, Troy Story and Adam Powell. He's just trying to say, he's trying to be like, hey, I know those guys.
Thirsty.
I know.
Thirsty, bro. Go get it.
So now we're getting, now we're going to get on.
So now the one good thing about a magazine ad mm-hmm. or a magazine feature is it will remind people, oh yeah, I remember that car.
Right.
Something to that effect. But like, if your chop rod was in one issue, it wouldn't be as special as the fact it was the cover of this issue and that. So it was used multiple times because it was a pretty creative build at the time when it was out. Pretty creative and pretty one of a kind. So it got the exposure it did. And obviously there's a history that comes with being featured, but in my opinion, it doesn't create value for the vehicle.
Now, but also I do believe, so the magazine feature, I don't want to say it adds value. Having it featured in the magazine is a bonus, but usually previously, the being in the magazine is what made it a known vehicle. Mm-hmm. Got that many sets of eyeballs on it, and now that we have the internet and we have Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, all your stuff can be blown up all over the place before anything. So the magazine, featuring the magazine, I really think it comes down to the vehicle. Like what impact did that particular vehicle have on the scene? It was the first one like this. It was this one like that. I think you
help on my argument with that. So there's magazines that come out every month. Here's one right here called Hot VWs. Magazines that come out every month.
Hot VWs you could sponsor for life.
And not every one of them is a game changer. There's a lot of cookie cutters that make it into magazines. That's why I say it does not increase value of a vehicle. Because just because it was featured, being someone who's had 3 cars built and featured in magazines, mm-hmm. none of them belonging to me, building them from other people, mm-hmm. it's also a matter of I also know people to where I can go, hey, I just finished this. You got any interest in shooting it? Blah blah blah. You know, hey Bill, can you reach out to
Yeah,
so and
but
such and get it done? You know,
but
like.
also, I mean, but the cars. So the cars you had was the red double cab,
Mm-hmm.
the gray, the vert,
Mm-hmm.
and the well, you're including the you're including the one that's going to be
Yeah.
soon to
Well,
be
I was
featured.
also featured in 2 magazines in the red double cab. So I got a Hot VWs and a Trend. I'm sorry, a Hot VWs and a Volkswagen feature. Added that one car there.
Correct.
So.
But if we dissect those cars a little bit, you're looking at the red double cab was quite unique looking. It's one that you remember when you see it. The red double
One
cab.
best use of color at the
It
classic.
was a
So
red double cab with the Randars.
yeah, the
Radars,
15-inch JGE radars.
Yeah, so it had the JGEs on there, and then
Super white interior.
right, then it had the
Ultra white.
white interior. Now Kevin Zegger asked the question. He says, "Do top awards add value?"
I'm once again. I'm gonna go to no, unless you're talking like it won first at the Grand National Roadster Show, or it won the Riddler
so
Award.
the answer is yes, depending on where the award is from. I agree.
Because I had I had stacks of trophies with my squareback. It didn't add value to it. All of them first place. I never took second place at one show I took that car to.
Yeah.
And it's not it's a first place show winner. I won 12,000 for it now.
That's exactly what we're talking about. It specifically has to do with. Well, you gotta stop picking my camera, bro. That's all right. Let's break. You hate to see it. And then now Kevin Zegger says he disagrees. He thinks featured cars add a value as it shows popularity. I don't believe it shows popularity. I believe that featured cars, like you can get cars, a car can be featured if it's something unique. Also, if you know people, once you get your car featured, you start knowing the photographers.
Also, just because we know people doesn't mean they're letting the car in there because, I know this guy, so let's get in there. They're usually pretty clean cars. It's not. I'm not bringing somebody a pile of turd and going, hey, can we make it in the magazine with this?
No, I agree, but the reality is when a car is featured, I think for me the feature always means like, all right, cool, I made it, I got it out there in print, now it's documented in history. Like for me, that's the reason that I love the features. And also I'm thinking about a kid that's like me somewhere flipping through the magazine and getting motivated looking at those pictures of whether it's my car or whatever the car, preferably my car. If he's looking at my car and getting motivated, I feel I've done my job to pay back the people that built cars that motivated me to want to build a car. So I think some of that, but the reality is I think the key factors to big money for a car are if it's a game changer. Because I know, so Kevin's got a dog in this fight, right? Because Kevin has that split window. And so now we're talking about the split window. So Kevin, don't get upset. We're just going to be telling you.
I'm not familiar with it. I don't know.
It's the baby blue split window that's in the kicker booth at the SEMA show. Now, that car is a very clean car. That car is super clean. There's a few things on that car that when I met Buddy at the kicker booth, I said, hey, where are you at? Come over here at SEMA show. And then I was really mad at him because there was 3 or 4 things on that car that I wanted to do to my car that still hasn't come out yet. So I kind of chewed Buddy's butt a little bit over there. But that particular car was built by Hot Rod Shop. It's the top of quality as far as the build goes. But there's kind of it's a super nice car. There's no question about that. Do I believe that money's in that car? 100%. The build quality's there.
What's he asking? I don't know.
I want to say it was Kevin. Were you asking? I think $350, and that
$350,000.
Yeah. Is that right, Kevin? Kevin, chime in real quick and tell me what it is because I'm reading the comments as I can eyeball them from where I'm at to see, but I think 300 to 350, or I'm not 100% sure, but it's a lot of money for the car. But he says it won the Mothers Award at SEMA that year, which is a fairly prestigious award for mothers at SEMA. It's a super nice build, but I think so now for me to do some constructive criticism on the car and what makes it valued. Okay, so Kevin's asking 130 for that car. So it's 130 for a split window.
All right, we were in Neptune. Now we're back in the atmosphere. So I was like, what is going on?
I misspoke. There was $350,000 building it, which I can believe because depending on A, how it started, and B, the bug literally has everything done to it, right? The wheels for me, they're custom built wheels for the car, but they're not he says the guy spent north of $400K. The wheels to me, could you get, okay, so you could get that money from a hot rod guy or a big car collector that appreciates the quality of that build and wants the best, most high-end built car that's out there. I think in the VW world, it's going to be a little bit limited. Excuse me. And
that's a very high number.
But
That's a really big, and I understand that there's a lot of work and everything's done to it. That's pretty high.
I'll pump the brakes, dude. My boy Ethan Bingle, shout out for my boy Ethan Bingle. He got 120. I want to say somewhere north of $100,000 for his split window, and it was slammed on Fuchs, whatever. So there's buyers out there for every car. Now, there's always no, I get it, Kevin. I totally get it, but I just like you. It's Kevin. It's almost too cool for school. Like you got to know a lot of stuff that most people aren't picking up, and I think that it's a hard thing to do with a car, because he's saying the wheels are a throwback to like a Porsche Rouge inspired wheels, and that may be the case, but they lost it on me, and I like to think that I'm, the wheels just look at the car didn't get me.
But I know you're a guy who likes Porsche, so if you didn't catch it,
and then again, but it's like an early race car wheel. But for me, I like. I'm a kid of the 80s. There's a look that I like and I'm going for. And that's also the thing. Like if you're looking to build a car and sell it for top dollar, you got to play to the crowd, bro. You got to get on stage and play the hits. Ain't nobody trying to hear the new album. Nope. So if you're going to build a car, there's the hot button things that you've got to do that people are going to buy. Like the stuff that...
You got to check the box.
Yeah, the stuff that if you're doing like an 80s throwback car, there was the one car, I forget Matt's last name, but he was down there in Mike, I know his name is Mike, I think it's Mike Lee, if I'm not mistaken. He built the car that was at the 80s thing at Prado, and it was a blue with white, I think
where
white,
it wasn't really an 80s car, he built one 80s tribute.
80s tribute car. I loved it. I saw it, I was like, but for me, as soon as I saw it, I was like, bro, that car's $13,000, and I'm thinking, and I thought to myself, first thing I thought, and so here's how it works. I said, I'll buy that car. It's a $66. I'll buy it for $13,000. What magazine was it in? And then when I looked and I saw that it was like an 80s tribute, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like, and then I looked and it was like...
was it a lipstick resto or a full resto?
It was an 80s build. Like, it was a clean, decent paint outside. I don't think it was off the pan. It had a 1776 motor in it. And, and it wasn't like super... But it had the look. What's up, Justin? Big Justin T. But... if you're trying to get top dollar, you've got to build the car for the car that people are looking for. And so there's two ways to go with that, right? So early convertibles, like if you're building those full custom, you might not get the money for them, because the big money for those cars, unless you've got a big money buyer, the big money for those cars are the classic vintage guys. So if you're doing a crazy full custom convertible or a head like Tony's head, Tony the DBK, like that head, that's a big money car. It's a big money car no matter what. Now it's been modified in the process that they modified is that at any time you put back up the stock height, and it's basically bone stock slammed big motor, different trans. Change the motor trans, the front beam, and you're back to a bone stock car. So that car can be, nothing's been cut on it to where it can't be put back. But that car, because of limited production, the scarcity of those vehicles,
it wouldn't shock me when you hear of Hebs pulling six figures. That doesn't shock me at all. Split windows? That would shock me.
Listen,
I hear what you're saying. Like Ethan got it.
Eric sold his for $75,000 this winter.
And six figures.
But he sold it for $75,000 back in 2010. So it depends. I mean, there's buyers for everything. Going back to the ad over here, one of my some people are just ruthless. Somebody put a picture of a crack pipe, says, "Excuse me, I think you dropped this." But, going back with that car, good luck to Frenchie. If he gets it, that's great. I'm going to have him on the podcast soon. We talked a little bit, and I'd like to get him on just to talk about, I don't want to get too deep into that because that's kind of boring.
Frenchie also has been in the scene forever. He's got a lot of history with it.
So that's one thing about that car. Like, he's been in the scene for a long time. He built, he had magazine featured cars in the 70s. So he's got an eye for that kind of detail. And and he was living it back in those days, so he knows if something is period correct. So there's some Frenchie building that car does add some value to it. There's a dollar amount it adds to it, and it depends on if he sells the car or not of how much it'll add to it. But it's the tough part is it's Like if it was a split window, if the shell was a split, it'd be a done deal. It'd be going for that and probably more. So Kevin agrees.
It's an odd year. It's an odd year to try and get that kind of money out of.
Yeah, Kevin. No, a lot of people got more money than you think this year. Trust me. Well, everybody's busy. All these shops are busy right now. So the other thing I wanted to chat about in respect to selling cars was, so the other night I'm sitting on the couch and I'm all hot and fired up, and I somehow started thinking about Corvairs, and I thought, don't be a hater, bro. And so I started thinking about Corvairs, and I said, you know what I like to do? Let me see if there's I'm just, I sit on the couch, and between, if there's a commercial break or in the middle of a TV show, I just start searching, right? Like I get a pop-up on OfferUp or whatever, and I just do my random, I have a set of area codes that I search, and I have, Kevin, you're right. Anything's worth what someone is willing to pay, 100%.
100%.
So
talk to people at Barrett Jackson.
So now this next section we're talking about is scams, right? So I happen to look for a Corvair Corsa, right? So I'm looking for a Corsa for sale, and I do a search. I'm going to see if I can find it here. And so I stumble on this website. I'm like, holy cow! Like here's like a kind of Survivor. Doesn't look too bad. And I thought, you know what? I'll check this thing. Like, wait a second, this thing's cool. And I looked at it, and then it was like $5,500. It was a runner, it had a good look to it, and I'm like, bro, I'll take that thing. And so, I mean, a little patina, whatever. And so it's like, it's a weird site where like, hey, Chris Addington, the man who built Rodbuster, is chatting out there. What's up, Chris? I hope Betty's doing great, man. Chris Addington, a legend. He's on the chat, guys. So say what's up to Chris. That's the man who built Rodbuster, and he's also on one of the earlier episodes. So as I search for this Corvair for sale, I come across this website, and it's $5,500. It's a driver Corvair Corsa, late model, and it's got some wheels on it, and the plate thing's blurred out. And then like I'm cruising this website, and I'm looking. Here's a bus for $15,000. Here's it like these.
Yeah.
So something's not smelling right, but I'm really hopeful, right? So I'm like, oh, maybe this is the deal here. So I'm like checking it out, and I'm like, I'm trying to find the website now. I typed in the same thing I searched last time just to see if I could find it, and I end up putting like contact the owner and let him know what what you want. So I typed in, I'm like, hey, I'm interested in the Corvair, whatever, and I get an email back. So the email I get back, when I get it, it says, hi Bill, thanks for your interest in the car. Give me 2 seconds. I want to pull the actual email up because it's the best email to read, because it's like, if you don't know you're getting scammed.
It's a robot for sure.
Oh no, it's not a robot. Like it's a scam. It's a scammer from way back. So let me see here. So anyway, the email, I can't find that. It's on my phone, but you're using my phone for the screen. So I get the email, and the email says, here's how the email goes. It says, hey Bill, thanks for your response. Right now, I'm selling the car. My husband passed away, and I'm selling the car. I just had a thyroidectomy, and I'm staying with my relative over here. But, my husband always liked these cars. He said life's too short to drive boring cars. Well, I've already arranged with a shipping company. They've got the car ready to go, and it's $5,500, including shipping. It's already set up. So email me your address and all the details, and I can get it to you, and I can get you the car while I'm recovering, whatever, right? So there's a little bit of sprinkle of like, hey, I just got done
distraction.
I just got done with surgery. I just got done with surgery. So if I'm not getting back to you, you'll be able to justify why I'm not getting back to you. I've already arranged it with a shipper to ship it anywhere you want it with the shipping price included. I'm thinking like,
it's a scam or the best organized woman on the planet.
Oh no. That's a full-on scam, because I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and the next day after I file that thing, I get 1,000 spam emails, and I was super bummed out. So, because I didn't get my Corvair, and then I thought, man, what an idiot was I to think, because I should have known, seeing all this, all these cars in there for cheap, like this bus, like all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm just like, I'm like, what an idiot, Bill. But yeah, so Kevin says he lost $4,000 to a scammer. He says the guys were smooth and the authorities wouldn't lift a finger. So based on this right here, I was telling the wife on the drive home, we're coming back today from buying that Corvair, in which that even seemed like an ad too good to be true. And I'm driving back and I said,
it wasn't. It's here.
Yeah, it's here. It's here, baby. It's here.
It was true, every bit of it,
and
unfortunately.
I was kind of bummed out because there's no place that I could go, because I typed in like report scam emails, because I wanted to report it because clearly this is a scam. It's a setup for a scam, and I wanted to get it where I could get somebody
and they're obviously profitable
tagged for it. Yeah, so
they're profitable.
I was super annoyed because I was just worried about somebody getting jacked over this thing. So, I was looking for that thing because I flagged it, but it might be on one of my several different email accounts. So, at any rate, but
what are you, a spy?
So here's how you tell those things are scams, right? First, there's the setup, the response. Hey, Bill, thanks for getting back to me.
Personal information, back to the car. Personal information, back to the car.
Well, it's my husband's car. It makes it
seem like the car is the secondary thing they're contacting you about.
They make the personal connection. My husband always said, life's too short to drive boring cars.
Oh, is she right?
By the way, I just had a thyroidectomy, so I was going to write an email back, and I was going to say, hey, you're in luck. I work for a medical company that provides special medication for people that have had thyroidectomies. I can really help you, and I'm looking for a person that we have $10,000 grants to help people with their thyroidectomies. I'll do this whole long email, and then I thought, I'm too tired.
Yeah.
But there should be a better way to report that kind of stuff, because those things come across quite a bit. And getting back to those scam emails, the most evil of those scam emails are ones that say, hey, yeah, saw you looking at naked girls on your thing. We videotaped you from your camera. Nobody. Here's the scary part. So someone sent me that, and I was laughing at like.
I got that too. Anyway. And I was laughing.
No. So
I said, well, someone's gonna get a George T. OnlyFans somewhere.
So, no, but here's the sad part about those emails. So there was a kid that got an email like that and was terrified and committed suicide. Poor kid just killed himself because he got an email from that. They were going to shame him at the school supposedly unless he got $1,000 from his parents and sent it to something, and it's just a scam email. So. There needs to be, my soapbox rant is there needs to be someplace better to report those fraudulent emails, because, they can get really deep really quick, and unfortunately some people are getting scammed pretty good. But if you guys want to check out a good video that has to do with that, there's a guy, Roberson, that does the glitter bombs.
Yeah.
He does a whole thing where they actually start tracking these people down that do these scams, and they're in these sweatshops overseas. And they're making these calls, but they were able to track some of those people down and get them some glitter balls. So, and get some glitter bombs on them. So it was pretty good. Let me see here. Let's see if I have any of these flagged. I don't have any of these flagged. And I think that might be on a Google email. But at any rate, what else I want to talk about was the show scene.
We got to pop them back open.
There's some show stuff. Josh Honel, who's on here, also said, so he busted something out over here, and he put a big little comment here about buying a car. And Josh, hold on, I'll give him some props. He said, I'll never have the money to spend $65,000 on a car. Josh, don't sell yourself short, bro, because I know you can achieve anything you want to in life. To worth $65,000 to $6,500. I believe in you. Anyway, but I applaud the people that do. I believe it pushes the industry in a direction that better serves everyone. There are 20+ million Beetles, and we still complain about aftermarket parts. We deserve better and maybe more. $65,000 cars will push the industry to a place that would support more shops and a better aftermarket and more cool builds. Well, yes and no. I kind of agree that it pushes the builds. Would it make more money for the shops? I think part of the issue, as the demographic of the VW enthusiast gets older, it's easier for them to spend more money to shop. Normally, people that are into VWs are because, we're keeping George up here. Normally, it's because people are resourceful and they don't have a lot of money to start up with. Is why they usually get into Volkswagens. Do you agree with that statement, George?
Yeah. So, there is a large aftermarket because of the popularity of vehicles. I think our aftermarket could do way better, in my opinion, and I hope they start doing better.
Yeah, I agree. Let me see here. I'm gonna put my little picture on the screen there. Oh wait, let me just do this correctly. There you go.
You split
there
it.
You go. Me and George, and that's split.
Excellent. Should have done that at the beginning.
Well, no,
hey.
it was split for the past 20 minutes, and I've zoomed in on you, and now I've zoomed in on me, and I'm giving all these people all this eye candy.
Giving them all they want.
So, so speaking of Chris Addington, giving everybody a little bit of insight. So Chris Addington was the first one of the Bakersfield boys that really, like, he set the benchmark for custom stuff. And I interviewed him. We just had George Delfino, and Steve Kinnett, who was the guy that owned a company over there called Volkswagen. He did a lot of the graphics and airbrushing, and he actually painted Chris's car when it was crystal blue Persuasion. So he was a VW enthusiast back in the day, but he was part of those guys out there. He built the notch that's for sale. There's that,
I know
the removable hardtop notch. So he built that car. I had a conversation with him this week. You normally never do this on the podcast. I normally never do a pre-conversation because I want everything to be organic, but I just been trying to, and part of it was I didn't know a lot about him. So I wanted just to call him up and get a little bit insight so I know a little bit more about him, and I really learned a lot. It's going to be, when we do the podcast, it's going to be a fantastic podcast I know everybody's going to love. But, that whole Bakersfield group was really just doing such crazy stuff in the 80s, and I'm trying to think of any other group that was really pushing the boundaries like that. I mean, you started with those guys out there, and then they just kept pushing one and over and over and over. And I think that's some of my favorite stuff that we've been doing with the podcast is the history we're tracking down. I had shout out to my man Dave Gruntvig. If you're out there, Dave, he's my guy that sent me some microphones, some headsets, and some stuff like that. VW, a fan of the podcast and a hardcore VW enthusiast, and he's a fan of the podcast, but he's also, so these are my critics, right? I got him and I got George, and George, pass me that
Someone
remote.
has to keep you in
Pass me that remote right there.
Oh, you don't think it's hot in here?
Yeah, I'm turning the air conditioner
You
on.
don't feel like a pig roasting in a fire?
So he calls me up, and we said, he had asked me, he said, hey, give me a call. I want to talk to you about some of the audio on there, because what he does for work is he sets up audio at a lot of the all live events and stuff like that. So
I think we talked about it before on the
podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway, he and I talked earlier this week, and so we kind of had
He heard the podcast too, then, huh?
yeah, the podcast where everybody gets to hear like my cup with the ice and all that nonsense. Yeah, don't worry, I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. But look, dude, it's Thursday. It's hot in here. Just turn the air on. But with my conversation with him, we started getting really in depth about. I think there's enough content out there that you could make one unbelievable documentary with the sound bites, the people we've interviewed, the benchmarks in the scene, and there's plenty more to go without question. But I think there's so much content out there that he had given me a good idea as to how to possibly start working on that. Because I thought to myself, with the technology they have today, like you watch some of these documentaries and they're mostly pictures and stuff like that, and they're able to split the background from the front and really make it come to life. And I think with the audio that we have, the most valuable thing is the stories from the guys themselves that like live the scene. And so I may be looking to start working on some of that with somebody to start making a documentary just on
the worst is when
you
watch those ones and they keep showing the same picture like every 15 minutes, so they pretty much have a loop of pictures they're doing in.
Yeah, well,
there are some really bad ones out there.
If you think about it, and I think I just posted on Instagram. I don't think I posted on the blog sheet, but if you look at with George Delfino, he and I are doing this long podcast, and then he sends me pictures of when they push the square back out in the backyard and just hack the roof off of it.
Yeah.
It's like to have a picture of that.
You posted that on Let's Talk Duds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's so cool. Like, to have those pictures, and I have so many pictures that people have sent me that document some of the history that I would just love. I think you do a whole 30, 40-minute video on just the Bakersfield boys and what was happening in Bakersfield and the cars that were coming out of Bakersfield. And it'd be
obviously a group of guys.
A really well-rounded,
the same group or the same clique that was putting out these cars.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it's just so much history that you don't really pick up on. There's so many overlaps, like, rest in peace, Bruce Myers. We had him on earlier, and his podcast, which then he attributes the downfall and loss of his business to this other thing. And then I get Gary Emery on, who built the first Baja, and the guys that worked for Bruce went to go see him at the dealership, and then they tell Gary like, "Hey, are you gonna build these kits?" He said, "No, I'm just building this Baja for me." He's like, "Can we make a kit off of it?" Yeah. So those guys that were his main fiberglass layers make a mold off Gary Emery's Baja, and then leave and start making Baja kits. And so that that's where Bruce says those are the guys that ran me out of business, or not ran me out of business, but like that's the car that kind of changed things for me. So there's so much, there's so much of this history that I would love to see it turn into like documentaries with some film footage and some stuff like that, because there's
it's been put out in the universe now, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff out there going on with that. But getting back to the shows, I think the first show we're going to be hitting is the first one coming up. Now, they just changed the date on the Madeira Spring Fling, didn't they? Because the Madeira Spring Fling originally was, and don't tell me it's this weekend, I'll start crying. But it was originally the 29th of April, I think. And the 29th of April is when I'm going to be out of town. I've got a previous event, and that's where I was hoping to go check that out. But we'll take a look at when the.
I saw Buggin posting about their next event and the layout of it and everything, so we know that's happening.
Well, so there's the Buggin, and then I saw a post somewhere because Josh Honel was asking me. He said that because I wanted to do a drive down to Texas for Dub Splash. And I think Dub Splash came out, and the date was June 12th or something like that. Yeah, so June 20th is the Bug-In. Let's see, they're calling it now SoCal VW Week, and it goes from the 5th to the 20th, which I think is a little bit. June 5th is the Rare Air VW show. Let's see here. The 13th, 19th. So I don't know where I saw that earlier, but it was the Rare Air VW show. The Dub Splash, I don't know why Dub Splash is not on here. Dub Splash, I think, is going to be June 13th, maybe.
There's what's the No-Do? When's that? Because
No-Do,
Alex that came by the shop was hitting me up about that one.
Yeah, No-Do, I think, is like in February, November. It's toward the end of the year somewhere. But
February is the beginning of November.
Well, no, but it's somewhere on that end of the calendar. The calendar just loops for me, bro. I don't know about you.
It's just a loop.
It doesn't start over.
It all starts over again.
Yeah, so for sure we're going to be hitting. I'm for sure hitting Bugorama, which is going to be on 29th of May, Sacramento Bugorama. So I want to give a plug for Steve Hole up there. CB Performance presents the Sacramento Bugorama number 85. So I'm looking forward to going to that event.
For sure.
That's for sure. I'm without question making it to that event. I'm looking to see what other events we may be able to get to. And the Spring Fling is now going to be May 14th through the 16th. So that's halfway up there. So we may... I might be open to make it to that event only if they're not doing buses at the pier. And when I ran into Don Ramsey, who puts on the event buses on the pier, I ran into him and he said, "Hey, we're going to do it. It's going to be May 15th. It's going to be the opening of Huntington Beach. I'm trying to set up dates right now for a trailer spot down by the beach for like my RV." And he said it's going to be on the 15th. Right now, I was looking for his number, and I'm going to have to reach out to him and see if I can find out what's going on. But, yeah, Dub Splash is June 12th through 13th. And then Matt Jackson says the VW Harvest is October 17th, which I got to see when our event's going to be this year, the One Crazy Weekend in Vegas, because...
for the first weekend.
Yeah, we're pushing for first weekend in October. We just got to finalize some things.
Utah boys just posted up that the Utah Classic is a go.
The Utah. Well, let's not get too far ahead. Because there's the Utah event that's going to be June 25th, I think it is.
And but they actually just released that this week about the Utah Classic is a go.
Okay.
I believe it's in September 18th, was it?
Well, that's last call.
Do they have it on there?
Let me look. I'm doing all the heavy lifting, bro. You got to fill some time, George. Fill some time. But I'm not seeing the Utah VW Classic. And then
they may
looks
not
like
have it on there yet.
Bugorama 86 is going to be in September. And let me see. I am not seeing it here. So if we do not go to, if there is no buses on the pier, which I really like the event of being on Huntington Beach Pier. If there's no buses on the pier, we'll probably make it to Spring Fling. So right now, my whole family's set to go down to Huntington Beach on the 15th because that's what I was told. I'll confirm that this next week with our boy Don Ramsey and confirm if that's actually going to happen. With things changing a little bit in Southern California, I know their big opening date is like June 15th or something like that. So that's when they're eliminating their mask mandate and people can stop being mask holes and stuff like that. So I think that's about it, George. What?
Well, I'd say I cannot wait for the mask thing to be over.
Yeah, the
It is
the mask thing
annoying.
is getting old. So I'm looking forward to this event. Let's see, No Dough Bud show is usually in February. See, Stacy knows what's up. Stacy knows what's up. He said I was right. And October 16th, Dubs by the Dam. Lucas Hand says it's Dubs by the Dam. So.
What is this, Lucas Hand?
Luke, that's the event he did last year. The one that was like the weekend.
Okay.
I think it was the weekend after ours, the weekend before ours.
Yeah.
So I can't remember.
It was after.
Yeah,
It was after ours.
It might have been the weekend after ours, but yeah. So we're looking to get our event set up, and I'm thinking this year what I'd like to do in respect to the event, I would like to maybe have it start Thursday night, and do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and we may end up doing a car show on Saturday at the top of the deal there because I think it'd be a good spot for it, and
Yeah.
I think it'd just be good to cap it off. And Saturday, the end of Saturday's the end
Still
of the show.
doing the poker run.
Still
Poker run is the main
100%.
event. 100%. I think
100%.
people like that better than car shows because we were all meeting back at the park line anyways just to hang. I
Right.
actually enjoyed it because you got the vibe of like the Crown Plaza, how we all used to hang in a parking
Mm-hmm.
lot kind of deal, mixed in with actually doing events. And considering we put that on during a pandemic, and then we went head to head with Octo, that just happened to be on the same day, just by sheer coincidence. I think this year we can get a much better turnout. And
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think a lot of people will not be so concerned about going, and then I think really everybody loves to go to Vegas. So, yeah, the poker run's gonna be a good thing this year. And remember, man, the money I get for the poker run ends up costing me money
yeah,
because
comes out of pocket on that show.
it doesn't matter how much money we got. I think we had 50 people paid $50, and I paid out $2,500 or something like that.
You paid out, $2,500,
Yeah,
and then plus there was the cost of the actual
so
putting the event on, the
yeah,
shirts.
it was all, no. What I'm saying is like I paid for the shirts, I
Yeah.
did all that stuff, and the cool part to the shirts that I like the best, the shirts. There was a specific shirt that you only got if you entered the poker run, which I had someone call and ask me like, "Hey, can I get a shirt?" And I said, "No, the shirts are only available for either VIP super fans that are
They'll be available for sale at the next event we do. Is what I'm going to say.
no the
They'll be available.
what shirts you talking about? Not the one
The
crazy
special-
weekend.
Yeah, the
There'll
one
be a
crazy
separate-
weekends
there'll be a separate
will be
shirt.
available the weekend we're doing our next show.
They'll
They'll be available.
There'll be a separate shirt. There's gonna be a poker run only shirt that's just
Y'all
for
will
poker.
be too. Why would you? So we can hang on to them?
No,
I'm gonna keep these 25 for myself.
No, I don't have 25 here. I've got a handful of shirts here, but the issue is, I believe in the value of having something set to the side that not everybody can have, and you had to be there. Like you can't just roll up with the Kiss concert shirt if you didn't go to the concert, bro. You can't.
Watch me.
No. So, at any rate, I think that's where we're at. I think we kind of covered everything we were going over, and appreciate you guys for watching the podcast, hanging out with us for a little bit, and we'll see if we can't throw up a few more podcasts coming up, live stream, and doing some of the stuff. So, appreciate you guys for being there. I will do some shout outs on the actual podcast that's going to go out, but I do, matter of fact, I think I did. I wrote down a couple of shout outs to do for some of these guys because we've been getting some pretty good support. You guys that bought shirts this week, you'll be getting your shirts mailed out tomorrow. So let's talk Dubs.
So for the local Las Vegas Volkswagen people, don't forget every month William over at Rock is doing the paddock. I believe
That's
it's the
right.
second Mondays of every month,
And no, it's the third Monday.
okay.
Third Monday night.
Just happened Monday.
Yeah, which would have been the third Monday if I'm not mistaken. And it's they're doing it at the Red Rock Plaza. And if you guys are in town, you guys probably wouldn't hurt to cruise by if
Yeah.
you want to go to Red Rock Country Club.
Yeah.
And it's from
It's
6 to
highfalutin.
9. It's highfalutin.
It's
Pinky's
highfalutin.
out. But it's definitely super cool. Check it out. There's a lot of
It's
cool.
pretty
cars
awesome because the Finley was just have to be sponsored this last one. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna sponsor the next one. So they had free brats and pretzels. I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with that.
Right.
Like homemade ones, not like a bag of pretzels. Really nice stuff for Red Rock Country Club and all, you know. And I believe they'll be doing it again next month.
Yeah. Oh, no question, no question. So that's a good event to come to, and also we're here in Vegas. If you happen to be in Vegas, first Friday of the month, once it gets dark until about 9 o'clock at night, at Finley Volkswagen in the Henderson Auto Mall, they clear the front lot. We go out there, we hang out the first Friday of every month. So if any of you guys listen are ever in Vegas and it's the first Friday of the month, come out to Finley Volkswagen. You guaranteed to see some VWs out there, and maybe
At least 15 of them would hope.
at least a solid
At least
15.
A solid
yeah.
15.
Usually there's more when the weather gets good like this.
And I'm usually there, so come chat me up.
Yeah, just go see George. So T King 530 says, I'll give him a shout out, 5 stars to give us on the podcast. He says, awesome stuff. I've had a dilapidated 69 Fastback for almost 10 years now. It's the first car I ever bought and have never driven it. Lugged it around 3 states, stored it in at least 3 storage units, but now it's garage at home. Time, money, knowledge, and ratio hasn't worked out in my favor over the years, although the tides are slowly turning. Listening to the show and the amazing stories and tech info has seriously motivated me to get to work. Keep up the good work. Man, we appreciate you, T King, and he gave us 5-star review. Also, Ralph Tolley says, awesome. This podcast is awesome. It's super informative and just plain fun to listen to. Anyone into VWs needs to listen. I really enjoy it. Thanks, Bill. We need you. Well, Ralph, we appreciate you giving us a 5-star review. If you guys we guys always get a shout out when you give a 5-star review. I appreciate you guys for listening, and until next week, guys.